Want to thrive as a single person? Growing as a person is how you get there. Hey, this is Todd. Welcome to the Thrive Singles Podcast. Whether you're single again or still single, stop hating being single and learn to thrive. And welcome back. Welcome to this week's episode of the Thrive Singles Podcast. Great to have you with me here today. I have a lot to cover this week, so let's get to it. From time to time, I mention that personal growth plays a huge part in thriving as a single person. In last week's podcast episode, I spoke about growth being a process. This week, I want to delve a little deeper into the why, what, and how of personal growth. First off, why do I think personal growth is important for single people? Well, it works. Personal growth makes life better, whether you're married or single. Growing as a person is important for everyone. That includes singles. In fact, I think it's especially important for singles. Let me start with what you might think is my weakest reason, but the thing is, it worked for me. Personal growth made all the difference in my life as a single. I had a lot to learn, and a lot of improvements to make. I've always been pretty shy. My divorce left me unsure of myself and rethinking everything I thought I knew about relationships. And I realized that I knew a lot less about myself and the opposite sex than I thought I did. So I started reading books, taking classes, joining groups. When I did those things, I learned a lot, and I started to grow. I began to gain confidence. I became more attractive to the opposite sex, and I started going on more dates and generally enjoying single life more. But it didn't just work for me. As I looked around, I saw the difference in outcomes and levels of happiness of people who put the effort in to learn and grow, and those who didn't. And it was a stark contrast. On the one hand, the people growing and learning were enjoying life, had more fun, had more positive outlooks, had more people of the opposite sex interested in them, were more well-adjusted, and were overall just more enjoyable to be around. On the other hand, the people not interested in growing beyond where they were had one failed relationship after another, were always complaining about how tough single life was, and never understood why relationship after relationship ended badly. So let's say you're dissatisfied with your life and your relationship so far. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Unless you make some changes, you'll go on being unhappy and dissatisfied. And by changes, I don't mean changing your relationship status. If you make similar mistakes in your next relationship, you'll have similar results. It's time to make changes in how you view yourself and others, and how you go about getting into and being in a relationship. Okay, so how do I change? What is personal growth, and what areas do I need to grow in? Personal growth is what happens when you learn new things and put them into practice. As you learn about yourself, other people, and life and relationship skills, and incorporate things you learn into your life, you grow, and life gets better. It all starts with knowing yourself better. Why did I do those stupid things in my last relationships? Why did I sabotage myself, get so discouraged so easily? Why did I overact to what so-and-so did or said? Why do I get so weird around people I find attractive? Why do I get so down on myself or others? Or think that a lifetime happily ever after marriage is out of reach for me? There are things lurking, undiscovered inside of you that affect your entire life. Your mistaken beliefs, motivations, unhealed wounds, layers of scar tissue. Those all influence the way you relate to those around you. It'll be hard to change your relationships until you understand why you relate to people the way you do. Speaking of other people, you need to learn about them too. Everybody's different. Everyone has a different genetic makeup, upbringing, socioeconomic situation, and different cultural influences. Sometimes these are small and other times they're huge. Yet, at the same time, almost everyone has a few things in common. Most of us are driven by the desire to have adequate food, shelter, water, a stable home life, a sense of belonging, and a feeling of being accepted and cared about. And most of us desire affection, connection, and sex. Plus, just like you have your set of hurts and sensitive places, so does everyone else you meet. We've all been hurt. Everybody knows what it feels like to be disappointed, be taken advantage of, or be rejected by others. Each person is a unique conglomeration of all those things in different amounts and combinations. You have a lot to learn about people in general, and a lot to learn about any specific person you might be interested in. Unfortunately, our education doesn't include some of the things we most need to know to be successful in life. My school and my parents taught me a lot of great things, but they left me completely ignorant about how to date, get married, and make my marriage a successful long-term relationship. It was after my divorce that I realized I needed to grow in that area. Not that I was a bad husband. I did the best I could with the knowledge I had, but there were a lot of things I didn't understand. There was a lot of room for learning and growth. And that's the way it is for most of us. We do the best we can and sort of muddle through life with mixed relational results. Other than having adequate air, water, and food, there is nothing more important in this life than the relationships we form. Those relationships will only be as good as we make them. The more effort we put into our relationships, the better they'll be, and the better life will be. So spend some time learning how to improve relationships, especially if you ever want to get married. And even if you want to stay single, any effort you put into improving your relationship is worth it because you are still in relationships. You may have a relationship with your parents, your friends, your siblings, or your coworkers. And if you have any, you have a relationship with your children and possibly their spouses. So, if we're not born with that knowledge, and we don't get it in school or from our parents, is it hopeless? Is it impossible to grow? No, of course not. For instance, you can learn about yourself in a lot of ways. There are several different personality tests you can take that can shed some light on who you are. You can find some of those online for free even. You can ask friends and relatives, ones who know you well and whose opinions you trust, to tell the truth about you. And also consider speaking with a competent counselor or psychologist. Getting help from a professional is not a sign of weakness or sickness. It can be a really valuable part of your growth, especially if you've been through a divorce, abuse, or some other kind of trauma. Or how about, if finances permit now, hiring a life coach, or a dating coach, or a career coach, or a financial advisor, or a physical trainer, or any other professional that can help you in a specific area of weakness. There are things you can do that'll help you grow in different areas at the same time. Some of the things that helped me grow the most were reading books, joining groups, taking courses. Those things taught me a lot about myself, other people, and relationships. There's no shortage of reading material on any subject you can imagine. There are books, blogs, magazines galore, and more are written every day. The biggest problem is that there's so much information to wade through. It takes a lot of reading to find the best and the most helpful ones. Time. You don't have time to read? Well, what about audiobooks or podcasts? If you walk, run, ride your bike, you can listen to something while you exercise. Or if you have a significant commute, turn off the radio. Take advantage of what Zig Ziglar called automobile university. Listen to a good book or podcast while driving to and from work. This also works while cutting your grass, cooking, folding clothes. The internet has also made possible on-demand courses on every subject you can imagine. Take an online course. Take a local class. Or if you've been through a divorce or some other life-altering event, find and join a support group that can help you grow and recover. I mentioned it before, but joining a divorce care group made all the difference in the world for me after my divorce. So I highly suggest you go to divorcecare.org and find a group near you. Something else that made a huge difference in my life was the input of wise people, mentors. Find people who are wise, godly, and have walked the path you're on. Letting them pour into your life can lead to lots of growth. So, if you want to thrive as a single, never stop learning and growing. Learn about yourself, learn about your fellow humans, and learn about what it takes to have better relationships. Read, take classes, join support groups. Doing those things will make you a better you, a more attractive you, and a happier you. Personal growth will help you thrive. And a great resource for personal growth is thrivesingles.com. Be sure you go there and subscribe so you never miss a blog post or a podcast episode. As a bonus, you can also download my free ebook when you subscribe. It's a handy little book about a few basics of thriving as a single, or as I put it in the book, being successfully single. So, till next time, thrive on. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. See you next week. Till then, be sure to subscribe and go check out my extensive archive of past posts at thrivesingles.com. And thrive on.
Whoa, thrive. Yeah, come alive. There's more to life. You gotta grow. You gotta thrive. Whoa, whoa, you gotta thrive. There's more to life than to just survive.